Nah. All right. So, but you want to know something crazy? You want to hear something crazy? So
Yeah, well,
today is 20 years. Today is 20 years.
in the Navy? Look at you.
20
Look at
years.
look at
20 years
what's up, my boy?
in the gosh be gosh Navy, man. 20 years.
U.S.
And
Navy sailor, and now certified GOAT chief. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up, my boy.
man, 20 years. Hey, but so along those 20 years and 39 years of wonderful life, biggest things we always hear the things that we talk about, right? Words have meaning. And
Yeah.
that deals with communication and how we communicate to other people and how we deal. The biggest thing a lot of the most of those 20 years I've learned is everybody believes they're communicating properly, but especially across from south, north, east, west in the United States and working with different countries, communication isn't the same. A lot of people talk about tone, a lot of people talk about aggression, or you're using specific words to communicate to people. What's some of the funniest things that you communicated to someone and they did something differently off of what you communicated in? What you think about that stuff? Or even not even working with somebody, or
So
talk about
I
your
don't.
relationship. Let's talk about
So
relationships
here,
too, our friendships.
so here's the thing. All right. So when I first joined being a cat from Arizona, I'm originally from the Midwest, right? Born in Indiana, and I was raised in Arizona. But then when I joined the military, my first duty station was not Norfolk, Virginia. So obviously, we already know that Norfolk is the second chocolate city for the Navy, right? In a sense.
Yeah.
And I was meeting a lot of us from different parts of the United States, right? South, New York, whatever, right? But anyways, there was this one cat. His last name was actually Hood. Swear to goodness. Say first name, but his last name was actually Hood. And he was from the South of, I believe it was Mississippi, like deep South. But trying to communicate with him when that man was dearly intoxicated was like talking to Mushmouth from freaking Fat Albert. When he was he was he'd be like, "Hey, I'm like, what is you saying? Dog?" I literally would have to get almost just dearly intoxicated enough to understand him because his southern accent was so strong when he was intoxicated. I was like, bro, what is you saying, dog? It literally was like, it was like watching, it was, you know what it sounded like? You know exactly what it sounded like to me? What's that movie with Adam Sandler plays football? The Water Boy, the dude that
Water boy, yeah.
that's literally how it sounded like when he was talking. It just mushed all together. And I was just like, yo, this is crazy. So like communicate with like when he wasn't, even still when he wasn't intoxicated, even still talking because his accent was so strong. He was from like the backwoods, bro. So Hood, like, love that dude to death, man. It's sad how he ended up getting out the Navy, but communicating with him was just like, I almost had to write it down and be like, make sure this, all right, cool. Like, all right, but this is what I need you to do, right? But that was one, like, and then when I became like LPO, my first LPO position in the Navy, I had to understand that I can't give anybody, I had to understand that I can't sometimes give free will direction. And what I mean by that, I need this done, but I'm allowing you to do it however you want it because sometimes when I do that, the work comes out hella crappy. So I had
And
to
with free
learn to.
will, then that work he's talking about that's hella crappy. We got to stop the grump over there with that
uh
baby Anchor and Goated hoodie and those hats. Hey, reach out to Anchor and Goated. We can get those things done for you, baby. Also, you got Big Grump over here. Words have meaning. I Bushmouth. He talking about the South, but hey, we can talk too. We can talk.
but
Go on those side quests. Point to where he's made at the same time. Especially, I know what I'm talking about. They know a lot of things. And literally, I was a E5. I was a. There was one time like the guys didn't do something, I was gonna snap the seats. You know what I mean? So if I had to go to like a cartoon basis, but jump was like 100%. I'm just going through phases of life where I feel like this is necessary for me to.
Back to your story.
anyways, yeah. So I had to learn that I had to be clear and concise and exactly how I wanted it because if I had to understand that people don't have that same mind. I'm gonna put my like you tell me what to do, I'm going to do it my way, but I'm going to put my best effort. And not everybody has that same mentality. So there are certain sailors that I could give that, all right, hey, I just need you to do this. But then there was other sailors that I had to be like, I need you to do this. It needs to be done this way. And here's why. Because if I didn't tell them that, one, the work wouldn't come out as good as it should. And two, then I'm getting reamed by my chief at the time about the work that was done. So those are the biggest things about what words have meaning and just making sure you're being clear with what you want. But like I said, it's just also understanding how people work and what they want to hear and being around them to understand that they need this type of communication. Everybody receives and outputs differently. And just having that, once you figure out your group of people or your person or whatever other people you're around and figure out how they communicate, it makes you a better communicator too. So it's just understanding people.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing. And I can talk about that clear and concise communication, right? That is a that is hard sometimes because when we think we're being clear and concise to a lot of people, we're really not. Like you talked about and you touched on it with that whole, hey, I'm gonna give you enough information and you have the free will to go do it the way you want to. And we learned the hard way that a lot of people don't have the same know-how or understanding that we have, right? So we
Yeah.
got to be clear and concise and direct to the point of what we exactly want them to do. And eventually, because one of the biggest sayings that we have, right? Common sense is not so common. What's common to you is not always common to somebody else, be it they be from the south, north, east, west of the world. Everything is different. Everybody is taught differently. And when because if we all spoke the same, we'll all have the same.
100%.
It's so many different slang words that mean the same thing, and then it's so many different slang words that mean something else. And it depends on who you're talking to, right? Especially some of these junior personnel or even senior personnel sometimes. So you got to catch yourself and watch how you're talking to them. But that is the biggest thing, like you said. It is a confusion when it comes down to, hey, I told you this, but somehow you heard this. This is the way you explained it to me. And I learned that early in my career when I took a leadership position that, hey, look, we're going to go step by step. This is what I want you to do directly like this. And I used to tell my sales a lot of the time, I'm going to give you a little bit of direction and you do it the way you want to until that way stops working, then I'll step in. And a lot of people don't like that, but that is the way I was developed to give me a thought process, to give me that courage to ask more questions. Because to me, the biggest thing that people fail at a lot of the time is encouraging people to ask questions because they believe there are stupid questions. Don't get me wrong, the stupidest question is the question that's not asked. Yes, the question might sound stupid to you, but that question still deserves an answer.
Yeah, no, I do, like you said, like both on the same page with that. Like I did, like with my leadership, I think they see something in me where they're like, all right, we know if we give it to Will, we just tell him this and he gonna knock it out. It's gonna be good. But being developed as a junior sailor into a leader is two different things, right? But it also feels good knowing that your leadership does see that in you, where they know that if they give it to you, it's going to be done. It is going to be done correctly, but it's going to be done in a way that makes sense for you, where you don't have to stress over it, right? Because everybody has a different thought process, but it is sad to say probably are more people who need more clear, concise direction and words so they actually fully understand. And I get it. I mean, it's what it is. I think some people never had that free will a lot. And
Yeah.
don't have enough of the common sense to put the piece together to make it work for themselves. And that's all right. That's when it comes to coming to you as a leader in the Navy to do that for them. And hopefully they'll start to develop on their own. Like, okay, I can do this. And some people have to be a little more wordsmith too to get them to understand. You gotta, there's some people you get like, all right, I talk to the masses. Hey, let me talk to you this side real quick. Let's say, just so you understand what's going on. But it is what it is. And, even for me, I'm not perfect, man. I've had my moments where I had to get pulled aside because I didn't fully understand. I thought I understood it, right? That's another part of it, of communications. Like what you think you hear, what you think how you understand it might not be the same how they're actually the person who gave the information to you how they actually see it, and in their eyes, you're already doing it wrong. So now you got to get talked to or whatever. And but it's what it is, right? You learn your lessons, you move on. That's why you keep asking questions just to be clear, to make sure. But you got to have, sometimes you got to have the leadership that encourages that. And then sometimes you don't. You have leadership that they, it's my way or the highway. And I do believe that those type of, in my personal opinion, that type of leadership is always not the best, because at the end of the day, you're going to leave that command, or you're going to leave wherever, and you're basically telling these people that they can't think for themselves. You know what I mean? And that's I don't believe that's what it's about. But the wickedest slang though I probably ever came across, and you could probably agree with this, and just because they have the most rappers with the most craziest slang. Bay Area slang by far is the craziest slang of words. The stuff they be saying. Like when I met my first Bay Area cat in the Navy, I was like, bro, what? And I had to and luckily I did listen to a lot of Bay Area rap growing up, so I kind of understood. But when they really on it and they talking, bro, it's like, yeah, it feels like you fucking.
Tell me where to go. Tell me where to go.
Bro, it feels like they came from another galaxy, man. And you ever live it? I'm like, dang, bro, like that's crazy. But I got love for my Bay Area people, but I by far is like slang and like using different words, and Bay Area's got it down, bro. They can put the puzzle pieces together and they could talk some crazy shit you wouldn't even know. But yeah, like I did up and down have initially, especially when I first joined, have communication. And then too, I came in during the time when we were doing all of the, you did too, when basically we were recruiting from everywhere, not just the United States. We were recruiting from Africa, Philippines, you know what I'm saying? When all those different nationalities came in. I remember my boy John, he had a deep African, he was from Cameroon, Africa, man. So, you know, and he's cool as fuck, man. He had a really deep Cameroon. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And just so I can understand him. I would spend time with these people just so I can understand them better, because I also feel people like don't want to spend the time to do that. And so then it just makes it easier for them to berate the sailor when they're thinking they're making a dumb decision. I'm like, that's not, I don't, you know what I mean? Or,
Yeah,
you know, it's like they're just like,
that goes back to what we're talking about. That's what when we go back to talk about, right? Clear, concise. Just be clear and concise. Yeah. If you know you have a sailor who has a language barrier, and English is not their first language, or you feel like they're from somewhere and they're not the brightest person, be clear and concise. There should be no true reason for frustration. I tell people all the time, I might be in a smart rate, but the smaller words you use, the quicker the job will get done. You don't have to use words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious or meticulous to talk to people.
back to that word.
I got it this time. Oh, we can literally use 1 cent words stop using $5 words for a 1 cent sentence, right? You can use a 1 cent word for a $5 sentence and still get it across. You don't have to prove that you're the smartest person in the room. You don't, because there's always somebody smarter in the room than you are.
I also feel like when you do that, it also just really proves how stupid you are. You just went and looked up a word to sound smart, but you don't. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people like that. Like, oh, and this new word, let me use it. I'm gonna be exquisite today. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh,
I will be exquisite today.
So, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just keep it simple, keep it basic. You know what the job is, so get it out there. And if people need a little bit of course correction, then you give it to them. But not only with your words have meaning, there's power behind that too. So just be cognizant or conscious about what you're saying too, because you also don't want to just, even if your sailor does a bad job, you don't want to just make them feel like they're nothing. So you have to you don't want to just go and belittle your sailor, especially too in public, right? We grew up in old school days where you get thrashed right there on the boat deck or wherever. They didn't care. And then you turn around and you're like, that means depleted. You literally see it, like when your boys get yelled at by their chief or whatever, right there in front of everybody. By the time they just depleted, like it just ruined everything in their whole whatever. I think us growing up is a little bit different for us. Let's go to the office real quick. Let's check this out. So what's going on? What's really going on? Because some people don't even want to tell you they got other stuff going on, and that's why they're acting the way they act at work and all this stuff. And like you said, it comes back to clear, concise communication. How are you supposed to know they're saying if you're just yelling at each other because they're messing up on the deck? Maybe they got other stuff going on. And I think it behooves us as leaders to be able to notice that and understand your sailors so you can have those conversations. All right, what's really going on? Because you usually don't act like this. So what's up? But we'll leave some of that for another topic. But so understand that when you're talking to them, you want to still be building them up. Understand that they understand what's going on with them, but also still be building them up so they can get back to the performance that they had, or they can become a better performer. Don't just keep sitting there and trash them, make them feel like they're the worst human in the freaking world, man. Because that's like it almost is not dehumanizing, but it's almost like that's when people get a bad taste of the Navy in their mouth because of their leadership. And they're like, man, fuck the Navy. I don't want to do this, blah, 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 or the military in general, because blah, 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 blah. And you don't have to do like that, bro. At the end of the day, I'm going to say this, man. Nobody owns the Navy. That there's an entity that's been going on for almost 250 years now. You know what I'm saying? All you're doing is playing a role. And it's either you're going to be a positive role or you're going to be a negative role. And I've seen more negative roles than I've seen positive roles. And at least that part about all of it, I've learned more from the negative roles that I've had around me, and the positive ones I wanted to be like, not necessarily be exactly like them, but understanding once I got in that position of leadership that like, hey, this is my show. This is how I want to run it. And here's why. Because at the end of the day, whether you do 420, I don't want you to feel like the Navy did a disservice to you. Because at the end of the day, we still need people to join the Navy and be part of a force that we need to protect the United States. But yeah, words have meaning, and being conscious about your words, about how you're feeding it to people to make sure you're still building them up, is the biggest things that I can take away from all of this.
Another thing too is I stated this was basically ask questions. There's nothing wrong with questions. If and that doesn't mean if you get an answer to a question and you don't like that means go ask somebody else to try to get a different answer. Basically, do your research, ask the question. Or in the moment, if you truly don't understand something, understand what was given to you or what was told to you, ask the question. Oh, okay, cool. Don't just assume that, oh, this person meant this. It doesn't matter. I would rather somebody ask me 100 questions to get the job done correctly the first time versus not ask questions at all and then we got to go do the job 100 times.
Yeah.
I would rather you call me in the middle of the night because, hey, something is bothering you and talk to me versus me getting a call in the morning to come get you out of jail.
100%.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's talk about this, right? What's something crazy in not work wise, but let's like relationship wise or friendship wise where words played a part and it was just
So I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to talk too much about my personal life, but I do understand now, I think as I've matured in my 40 years on earth, that yes, what you communicate to your partner and your family, it does matter, right? Especially you as a man, like when you understand that you're supposed to be a leader of the household. So if you're not communicating effectively to your partner and your family, like stuff can go south 100%. And yeah, not everything is going to fall on you, but you got to understand, like I said before, words have meaning and have powers, and they keep growing. So if you keep speaking these things the wrong way and can't figure out how to say it the right way, so it all makes sense for everybody, you're sending yourself in a word full of spirals, and it's going to keep happening and happening until you learn how to break it. And so you can clearly say what you expect, what you need, what you want, all those things. And it's not like it's hard to do, but it's hard to sometimes it's hard to speak to your own self. Some people don't know what to say to their own self. So that when it comes to communicating to somebody else, they're not putting out what they want to say correctly, right? And I can admit to that sometimes. You have to, and I don't care if people, well, you're crazy, bro. No, dude, if you're not having self conversation, and especially with the man above, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You need to have that self conversation. Because you have to build yourself up too. You have to speak the right words. Dang, this is all coming back to the conversation I had with my wife's cousin. But anyways, yeah, you have to speak those positive words to yourself. And even I myself, I'm not the best at it, but I do feed everybody else. I didn't grow up with the most positive reinforcements all the time from my pops and stuff. And I'm over all that, but like Josiah, I will always tell him, I give him little sayings. I'll be like, who's the strongest, who's the smartest, all this stuff. He's me. And that's good. So I want him to have that self-confidence as a young boy that he's He is strong. He is smart. He is all these things. But you need to do that for yourself. You can't be feeding everybody else and not filling your own cup up. So you want that power, you want that control, give it to yourself first. Talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
you have to look yourself in the mirror and have these conversations. Then and before all that, you gotta have a conversation with the man above. And in all due reality, self-talk is everything. I don't care. Even if you have to write, if you don't know what to say, like you say, you're big on the journaling, write it down and then review it and then speak it out loud. But in all contexts, man, yeah, be clear and concise with yourself, be positive with yourself, and you'll be surprised how much will literally change your aura, all that stuff, when you're starting to speak the right words the right way and how you think about it and see it in your visions and memories when you're speaking it to your loved ones, your friends, and all this other stuff and those around you. But yeah, man, I mean,
So yeah, to touch
go ahead
on
with
that, to touch on that, and I had to learn this. I want to say a few years back, right? The reason why most of my relationships ended, or most of my friendships ended as well, or we don't talk as much anymore, is due to miscommunication, misunderstandings, words have meaning, and stuff like that. The biggest thing I can say, one size doesn't fit all. The way we talk to each other, we can't. I can't talk to everybody like that because that hurts people's feelings. I
100%.
remember I was talking to this one young lady we were dating and stuff like that, and I remember she calls me one day, and I woke up out of sleep because I tell you this all the time, right? If you want to get me quickly, is your best bet is to call me. Your best bet is to call me. Don't text me because I sometimes don't hear the text. But if you call me, boom, I'm answer the phone. I will come out of a dead sleep and answer the phone. And I answered the phone out of a dead sleep and it was like, hey, yo, what's up, babe? Blah, blah, blah. And all I hear is, oh, who the? And I was like, wait, hold on. What did you hear? Because, I have certain people set up on ringtone. I had her set up on ringtone. So when I heard that ringtone, I already know who it was. I don't have to look at the phone. I just got to pick it up. And she was like, who do you, wait, hold on, pause. And I was like, what did you hear? Did you hear me say, hey, what's up, babe? Or what did you hear? I thought you said some other woman's name. You was about to get it. You was about to get it.
Oh, dude.
Or even when we talk about it sometimes, you and I had a lack of communication at one point. You remember the event, and we had a heart to heart about it. We had a heart to heart about it. And you flat out told me, you're just like, I don't like the way you were talking to me in that moment, and the things that you said were hurtful. But me coming to you as a man and telling you, hey, you're messing up this situation. I feel like I have to talk to you this way because any other way, you're not going to understand it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I understood what you were saying, but I felt like I needed to get my point across that way because that would be the only way you would understand and see me as your homeboy. Because as much as we joke and play, I needed you to understand that I was being serious in that moment. Versus a lot of our unserious moments we've had
Conversations.
in our career, a duck is a duck. But that's neither here nor there. We're not going to talk about that.
We gotta get that story out one day.
We got to get him. We got to get him here for it.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things, right? I can sit here and say that in my 39 years, have I been the best communicator? No, I haven't. It's taken time to, especially if you're not talking to someone from the same area you are, right? Like you talked about your boy from Mississippi. I probably would have understood him, everything he said, and been like, yeah, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
You probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 110%. I've
100%.
understood a lot of people. Coming from the South, I understand a lot of people. That's where I grew up at. Hey, we talk a little bit faster. People say it's mush mouth, but it's just we talk a little bit fast. Talk a little bit faster than other people. Some people say we
But
talk a little
y'all,
bit slower
but
than
y'all,
them.
y'all
So, hey,
talk fast or move slow.
yeah, talk fast, but move slow. And at the same time, hey, the work gets done and it's a great job. Don't hate.
Yeah.
At the same
Oh no.
time, though, At the same time, I had to understand one conversation is not a one size fit all. Right? It's, you can't treat your friendships and your relationships like it's work. And even with work, it's not a one size fit all conversation. If we're trying to get one big thing done in the moment, then yes. But that's when you need to be able to read the room and read your sailor's faces. If somebody's confused, pull them aside like, hey, what are you confused about? What do you got questions? Because everybody doesn't like talking in front of everyone. Everybody doesn't like talking in front of everyone, or everybody doesn't like looking stupid in front of everyone. Me, I grew up under the thing is I would rather look stupid by asking what seems like a stupid question or an obvious question to get the right answer or get the answer that helps me finish the job that I need to do versus not asking anything at all. Because we all understand things differently. And that's where we need to be kind in our relationships, especially our significant others. Okay,
Yeah.
look, I'm asking you this because do you understand what I'm getting at versus what you're hearing me say? And if we start doing that, guess what? We'll probably be in better places and spaces with our significant others. I admit that
Yeah.
openly. I can tell you, especially with some of my friends. Hey, look, let's get straight to the point. I told it to a couple of my homegirls one day. Oh, trust me, I got an earful. Hey, can we get to the point? Like all this extra backstory that we're not gonna care about or we're gonna feel anything about? Let's keep it moving. All right. But words do have meaning. And with that being said, you got anything else you want to touch on?
No, I'm just gonna say this. You are a man or a woman of many hats, and you have to put on a different cap in every scenario and in every situation. So when you're with your friends, you got to put in your friend hat, and have companionship and understanding. When you're with your wife, you got to put in your spouse hat and have reasoning and patience. And when you're doing your job, you got to put in your job hat. Now you got to have some common sense, some sensibility, just understand all that. So that way, the relationships you do have, you can keep them close as long as you want them close, obviously, right? So just understand that, man. You just got to take them hats off with every scenario and understand which hats you got to put on. But other than that, man, love, peace, chicken grease.
Hey, Grumpy Gills out, baby.
Love, peace, chicken grease. We out.